Okay, work starts. Where do we begin? We're gonna tear everything off here. I'm gonna drain the fuel. I'm gonna pull that out. I'm actually going to hook up one of my Milwaukee batteries that's in there. Yeah, this is awesome. There we go. Hook up one of my Milwaukee batteries in there. I'm going to basically drain that into the fuel or those tanks over there. It's the same fuel. I put non-oxy in there. There's non-oxy in here. We'll use that for the snowblower, lawnmower, all the good stuff. So that's the plan. Get that drained out. Get everything disassembled here. Get the top end off. Get the heads off. Get the coolant drained as much as possible. Make sure that stuff stays covered. Take the whole front accessories off. Get the radiator out. We will push up or kind of pull away the condenser, and then from there we'll take the front timing cover off. We will get the cam out, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the lifters. If all the lifters are good, we're going to put those back in, but the lifter trays will be changed. If you're ever in one of these cars and the lifters look good, always at least change the trays and use a GM tray. Don't use one of those 3D printed Chinese ones that are basically, they're just going to disintegrate in your motor, and then your lifters are going to spin, you're going to wipe out a cam, you're done. So always go with something GM. I know Michigan Motorsports sells them. You can get them directly from GM. I believe either BTR had them for a while, or they still do. you'd have to look. Summit's the same thing. You can get a GM brand. Just try to stay with the GM part number that's from GM as much as possible. So we're gonna do that. I will try to do as much, kind of like a montage to an extent, get kind of some fast-paced video of this coming off and everything. Those heads still have to be done. So that one is finished. It's got to get decked. This one I am about a quarter way through, and then these are going to get sent out to get decked. Once they get sent out and I get them back, we'll put all this stuff back together. We'll get the cam and everything in. This is going to be a several week process. So I'm going to put this in one video essentially, but it's going to be a several week process over the fall. Partially, it could be in the winter, to get that in, get the heads on, and then we'll check the push rod length. We'll get that checked, and then once we get that, we can get that ordered, because that's the last thing I'm going to get, obviously, and then we'll get everything put back together. And then from there, after this stuff is done, we have to get this car up in the air, and we have to essentially drop the rear diff down far enough, especially with an automatic, get the diff dropped down far enough so that I can get the tank dropped. That's why I want to empty the fuel out of this as much as possible, so the tanks are lighter. Get that tank dropped. We'll get the fuel pump in. I have it, it's down there somewhere. Get the fuel pump in, get everything plumbed. That way we have it's an AM 340 in this, and then we have the injectors and all the parts over there, and get the 50-pound injectors in here. They're just a 412 GM injector. They're 42-pound at 4-bar or 3-bar, 50-pound at 4-bar, which is what these are. So I already got the user parameters in for the ECU for flex fuel to P59, and it's just disabled right now, so it has all the parameters in there. You just have to turn it on and then go from there. So basically, once you do that, we'll get the flex fuel sensor in there. Probably just put it right here, have it loop around. I might get a shorter one of that, or just shorten it and bring it, loop it around with some AN fittings, and get all this back together. So that's a quick rundown. Let's start stripping this thing apart. And with the magic of editing, we are here. So I was gonna make a little thing where, you know, like a speed time lapse doing this. I'm not really up for that, so I just said screw it, we're just gonna do bits and pieces, and I'll do a little bit of an update. So intake manifold is off. I've pulled the valve, or the coils off. There were two, and I suspected this because I noticed before I put this away, this thing kind of had just a slight miss. You'd sit there at idle, and if you were sitting there in the parking lot and it was fully up to operating temperature, it just felt like it was missing a little bit. And I didn't know if that was just the way it felt in these cars, but I'm like, it just doesn't feel right. When I went to pull off two of those coils, one of them just fell off. Like, you just went to grab it and it was like, oh, off, broken. And then the other one had a insulator inside of the boot that just decided it was just gonna come apart. So there's one of them. That's the one that just kind of, I mean, it literally just fell off. So I suspect these things are all, I'm gonna replace those. So we'll clean those up and get new. I was gonna do it anyways, but that's my suspicion, is that's exactly what's going on. So what we'll do next is we're going to get ready to pull this EGR system, get this stuff out of the way. EGR is not going back on. I don't plan on putting long tubes on this thing, just for the fact that I'm not a big fan of the valve train noise on them. Yes, you can get really good, expensive long tubes on it, especially stuff that have thick wall steel on them. They're not cheap at all. They still have valve train noise. You cannot get rid of it without a thick casted manifold. I'm an old school guy like that. I just want it quiet. So even with the exhaust, I won't even screw with the exhaust, other than the axle back sounds perfect to me. That's about as loud as I want it, enough to where you can kind of hear the cam, which is not going to be super aggressive anyways. So I'm going to block those off. We're going to take those off. I'm going to tune it out of the computer. Evap stuff I'll probably just keep for now, since it does work. And honestly, when it does go out, replacing the evap solenoid isn't rocket science. They're not expensive. They're easy. They hardly ever go out, and if they do, it's every 10 to 15,000 or 10 to 15 years, roughly. So, but they're like, all of these tubes are so brittle. I mean, this thing is, it's not supposed to be like that. It's literally plastic hard. So they're just breaking. All of these radiator tubes are just breaking, so I'm replacing all of them. And we'll just keep going from there. These ones are fine. It's just the ones that have obviously been heat cycled forever are just coming apart. So that's what we'll do. We'll get that EGR system removed, and then we'll pull the valve covers, inspect everything there, pull the push rods out, rockers, all that stuff, and just kind of go from there. Probably start taking draining the coolant out of the radiator, start pulling some of these lines, getting them out of the way. That way we can start pulling the accessory system off, get all that cleared away, because by the time you pull the heads on this thing and all of that and the manifolds, you pretty much start going to the steering rack and getting that damn thing out. Otherwise you ain't getting a cam in this thing. So that's the next steps. I'll probably do some of it tonight. Otherwise it's going to be one of those things where it's going to keep going every week or two until we have this thing apart, and then we can start putting it back together with the new stuff. There we are. And we're here. So radiator is out. Fans are out. They're right over here. Got the serpentine belt off. Water pump. Upper shroud. AC condenser shroud is going to stay on here and just kind of flopping in the wind. I need to put in new clips because they're obviously just kind of janked. But we're down here. We got everything kind of cleaned up. What we're going to do is, next step, I think we'll get the AC or the alternator bracket, and the power steering reservoir off, or at least moved over. I don't think we need to do that to get the timing cover off, but it might help us get the steering rack maybe move forward, because there's a bracket that runs in front of that, which has the ABS module on it. I know most pull these out, but I was just looking if there's a way that we can basically not slide this thing out, but at least disconnect it from the spindles and maybe get that off. I doubt it's going to work, but we'll look at it. I may just be like, you know what, next video or next section, like, yeah, this didn't work, but get this just moved forward a little bit, and then we can get access to that, get that pulley pulled off, get everything off, and then once we get the cam installed, all the fun stuff, put the new harmonic balancer on. We may be able to get, like, you know, right down there and on there. I heat up the balancers. That's the way I do. I heat them up. The center core is really hot. Get them to, like, you know, 300 to 400 degrees. And then you can just basically just put them right on. You can spin them for a good, you know, 15 seconds, 20 seconds or so. And people freak out, like, oh, what about the seal? These engines get hotter than that. The seal's fine. 300 degrees on a seal. These engines are getting hotter. I mean, literally, they're fine. So, we'll see what we can do with this thing. Otherwise, if we can't, I guess we'll slide her out. We'll slide this whole steering rack out. This needs clean. The AC condenser is dirty. I mean, it is just dirty. So we'll get that all cleaned up. We get everything else here taken care of. We'll get that EGR stuff out, get that all removed in the pump, just kind of clean everything up in here. Get the heads off, and then from there we can have a clean slate, or clean up the slate to have a clean slate, and start putting stuff back together. So there is the next step. All right, I got the heads off, and the accessories are gone, or they're mostly removed. I got the wheels off on both sides, so we're going to work on getting the sway bar out, disconnecting the rack and pinion, getting the lines disconnected, and then get the rack and pinion out. And at that point, we'll be able to get the harmonic balancer off and get the timing cover off. Essentially from there, I'm going to start going through all these parts. I already know what they go to, and I'm going to start getting them bagged up, get them labeled, and then set them off to the side. I got some shelving there that I need to get cleaned up. I'm going to store everything, I think, on that rack, and then clean this up. That motor's got to go, or does it go in here? No, this thing's going to go. I'm actually listing this for sale tonight. So this can go, and I'm going to make a little hodgepodge area here for the bigger stuff and kind of label, like kind of have everything set out. I'll work on those manifolds to get the EGR valves covered up. Either I'm going to find plates for them, or I'm just going to sand them off and just weld them and just be done with it. And then clean up all this crap that I don't need. And then this is basically going to be tarped. What I mean by tarp, I'm basically throwing a tarp on it. I'm closing the hood until parts come in. That way, everything is kind of lined up. We can set everything, get the bench cleaned up. We'll get the heads all done. We can basically just line the whole bench up, everything there, and just be like boom, 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 and put everything on here. And then go from there. So a couple things I'm going to order extra. I did see that the tie rod ends, the boots are shot. So I'm going to get tie rod ends for those. Those things are cheap. So might as well just put them on for insurance, and I'll have my buddy align it if he can. He's on a lining table, so I assume he can. So we'll do that. And then there's a couple, I forgot already yesterday, I was going to document it, but it was getting late and I wanted to go to bed. There's a couple other things I missed that I was kind of wondering about. Now that I think of it. So let me grab a light here. If I, yeah, got one here. One momentos. Watching old Cleater here with the Supra. I already had one over here for Moses. Starter. You can see it. Looks to be I'm just going to replace it. The solenoid just looks kind of old. The fittings are rusted. I'm just going to replace it while I'm in here because, it's right in front of my face. So, get one of those, get an AC Delco one, get that in there, and go from there. Get everything else prepped up. So, we'll basically just finish getting this all torn apart and all the parts labeled and organized, and then we'll tarp it for the winter. And then I'll get everything ordered, and then we'll figure out a time that we can put everything together. I'm thinking maybe like November, December, somewhere on there, or next year. I have all winter. It gets cold outside, nothing to do, so I come here in the heated shop and just start working on stuff. So that is that, and I will keep on going on here and snip on as we go. Holy smokes. Yeah, there was a big break between the last one I videoed and now. So I put the cam in. I'll kind of put up just a little quick picture of it in. It's just an Elgin 1838, so sloppy stage 1. These are great. These are good cams for just stock stalls and stuff. I've run them in 6.0s and a couple other small like 5.3s and 4.8s. They work really good. They're bigger than, they're like the big brother to the Z06 cam. They like the Z06 cam have very similar lift, basically like lift heights on exhaust and intake, but the sloppy stage 1 has a longer duration on each. It has a larger LSA too, which it does give you that, that potato kind of deal. I had a 4.8 that had one. I had a 6.0 that had one. They sound really good. They make a lot of power, especially like mid-range from like, 2,000, 2,500 all the way up to like, 6,500, $7,000. I think you start petering off around like 6,600, 6,700, which this car is literally set up to shift at 6,700 RPM. I might bump it up just a little bit, but other than that, yeah, that's where it's set. So this is what's going on. I got the engine brought up because I dropped the entire subframe down. That way I could get the harmonic balancer on, or harmonic balancer off. There's the old one. New one on, cam in, all that fun stuff. And now I had to take the oil pan off, which is right there. And this was kind of not the plan. My stupidity when I did this is I forgot to pull the back lifter on cylinder 7 here. And when I pulled the cam out, it got, a quarter way out. I'm like, oh, what the hell's going on here? Like, this thing's just being really, really odd. wasn't coming out, wasn't moving. And I'm like, oh shit, I bet I forgot to pull the lifter out. Sure enough, did. So take the pliers, get ready to grab it. Right down it went. And I heard it. And I'm like, well, it's in there now. And the windage tray caught it, which not great, because then what happens is the counterbalance, the counterweights on the crank smack it. So we had to pull the oil pan off, which is fine. Took me about an hour and a half to get everything done and situated, get that off, get drained, and it's a good time to inspect it. Everything looks fine. Kind of going through here, that's all just casting. It's all casting marks, there's nothing there, so I just kind of wiped everything out. Looks really good. Pulled a bunch of sealant out, like this stuff. In the corners, they really, I mean, these were like here all the way around, so they really cake these things with RTV, which I don't do that much. So I pulled them off. I'll do them on the block, clean everything up here. I'll clean everything up on the block. But the cam's in. At that point, what we'll do is we'll get the oil pan back on. We'll seal up each corners with RTV, get that put up, torque everything down correctly. And at that point, what we're going to start doing is essentially everything's going to get assembled. So we'll get the cradle back up, get that bolted too, get the engine back down on top of the cradle, get everything there, get all the accessories back on, get everything put back together, and then probably start getting like the radiator and all that stuff in. And then I got to get the heads sent out to get those decked. We got football on. Get these heads, I'm going to clean these heads up a little bit more. I want to go over these with a flat bar and some sandpaper. Like this one, yeah, this one I already started like cleaning up. So these are already, all these are ported. They're all assembled, BTR, springs, valve seals, and everything. And we'll get everything cleaned up here, exhaust ports, and then we'll get these things sent out. We're gonna deck them, I think, probably either 20 thou to 30 thou, depending on where we can get any of the imperfections all cleaned up. We got a few, I'm trying to see where they're at. You know, we got a few down here, and we got a little bit up here. Everything, otherwise everything else is fine. I want to go through this and just kind of clean this up too, just so we can see where it's at. I'm guessing 20 thou should definitely really clean it up, but we'll really see. We can go up to 30 thou, 35 thou on these things. At 30 thou, we'll keep these at 60, was it like a 60.5 cc chamber, which is your like 11.1, 11.2 to 1 compression ratio, which is just fine. This car is going to be running on 91 at the lowest, otherwise it's going to be flex fuel, and that's what we're setting up for. So it's going to be 91, 92 all the way up to 85, which obviously is higher than that. So that's the plan. We'll get all this stuff back together. I'll do another video once we get all this stuff tidied back up, get the radiator back in, get all that stuff cleaned up, get the fans back in, basically get it ready to where we just have to get the heads on. All this will definitely be obviously like still tucked up here, but we'll get it to where it's like we're done, heads are done, and then we can put the heads on. And then obviously when the heads are on, we can do obviously put the stock manifolds back on, get the exhaust hooked up, get everything, get all the fuel lines hooked up. And then actually, do I have it here? I think so. I printed, it's got to be around here. Oh yeah, yep, I know exactly where it's at. So I printed, 3D printed with ABS, a flex fuel sensor mount, which I've already connected here, as you see. And this will change here. I just put this on here since I had them. So here's a flex fuel mount. The idea, actually, it might be hard to see. There's, oh gosh, right up there. It's flat, it mounts right here, and then it'll be nice tucked in, hidden away. And then we'll run everything right to the fuel rails, and we'll have the flex sensor. I'll create a mini harness, loom everything, and what we'll do is we'll just wrap it around there and then pin it to the ECU. And then I already have the, like I said, I already have the user variables set. They're on, they're ready to go. It's just disabled, so I'm going to get that set in and we're ready to go. Then what I'll do is once we get the tank dropped and we get the Stealth 340 in the back, we'll fill it up as much as possible with the 85, or maybe do like 50-60%, somewhere around there, and then we'll enable it on the ECU and log it, do some tuning, and then go from there. So that's what I have right now, but we're here, we're doing the work. Yeah, we're gonna get to it. It's still December, so we still got plenty of time to go on. This thing ain't gonna be driving anytime soon, and I'll show you why. We're in a blizzard. There's snow there. That's the house, so that's where I have to walk out to. Let me turn the light on. Oh my God. Yeah, we ain't driving anywhere. So that's a 4-foot drift right there. So we got plenty of time. We got at least 3 months. We're done. Yeah, I got new plug wires. So new starter, new Bosch starter. There's the old one. Oh my God. This thing was tonked. It's a good thing I tore it apart because this thing was rusty. Even that thing broke off. So I noticed this thing was like this summer. I was like, man, this thing just seems like it doesn't have the oomph, but the battery's fine. I have a feeling that it's the starter. So got a new Bosch setup. So everything else here. Half crown lifters in a 2004. Never seen that before. I've pulled LM7s and LR4s, 5.3s, 4.8s that are from 2001, 2002. They're full crown LS7 lifters. Yet GM was still putting half crown in the LS1 to its demise. Never seen that. So that's very odd. Those lifters in here, go right down in there. So these are from like a 2001 LM7. There's your full crown. As you can see the difference. So I'm just, if I had more, I would just toss those in, but I'm gonna say screw it. And at this point, I stopped going to OEM stuff after COVID. Just seems like the quality isn't there, and I don't know if it's GM or if it's Elgin, because Elgin does supply the DoD lifters for GM. They're the ones who engineered them in the first place, so I don't know if they're the ones that are making them. So we're just gonna go with some Johnson lifters in this thing. So they're called, they're called High Rise, HIRISE, or whatever the hell they are. I've used them before. They're $200 a pop. They're not cheap by any means, but they're really good lifters, and they're even like these crowns. They actually, from like here to all the way up here, they're one solid unit, and they're fully enclosed, so they're full crown units. So they work really good. That's what we're going to toss in here, and then we'll get the push rod checker in once we get the heads put on, figure out what push rods we need. I think we're going to need something with like probably a 0.7385, like somewhere around there, because a 0.7395 or 0.74 is the stock size. So I think it's going to be a 0.7385, somewhere around there. We'll figure it out. There's a way to check the lash and all that stuff. And then we'll order the correct push rods. I'm just going to do probably BTR chromoly like I always have. So, but there's the update. We're getting there. We're going somewhere.